Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call this school board meeting to order at about 5:32. Welcome, everybody. We have a quorum and we have board member Bonnie Brewer at home. She's getting ready to do some surgery tomorrow, so she's getting ready. So she's with us by Never Land. Changes to the agenda. This is a revised agenda, isn't it?
This is a revised agenda in front of you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, let's get started with the best part of the whole night, accolades.
You want to say the pledge of allegiance?
No, I wanted to do that. Oh, all right.
You're in charge. You
It's
can,
gonna be like
you can
that.
do what you
Okay.
want.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You know what's pretty cool? I gotta say this. It's so cool to hear those little itty bitty voices out there saying the Pledge of Allegiance over mine.
I noticed that too.
Yeah. Okay, now can we do that, please?
So I think the first accolade of the evening is to acknowledge our school board, one of them at home, but the school board that you see up in front of you is a volunteer position. Yes, we elect them, but they're not paid. So every month they put in hours and hours of their own time to serve the students, the staff, and the buildings of our school district. And they make a lot of really important decisions. They spend a lot of time researching what their community wants, trying to represent the values of their community, trying to look out for all the students and make sure that we have the best educational system that we can possibly have. And I think we've got a pretty good one. But we wouldn't have it if we didn't have a board. Everything starts with them. So if you'll join me in acknowledging, thanking our school board for all their work. Thank you all very, very much. And as you were looking around the room, we have been decorated and acknowledged. There's been several classrooms and teachers and buildings, and a lot of people have reached out. So I hope all of you realize how much we appreciate each and every one of you for your service and the time that it takes to be a school board member.
Thank you.
We have some superintendent awards, and what this is our opportunity for each teacher in our district over the course of the year to identify and talk about the great achievements of one particular student. A teacher only gets one of these a year, so this is a big deal. If you were picked by this teacher, that means you were the only choice this teacher got to have, and they chose you. So we are very excited to see what's happening well in our community, what's happening well in our schools. Let's start off with Lily and her teacher, Miss Foster. Hi, Lily.
All right, you ready? Okay, you stand, you listen. To the family of Lily. Lily is new to our school this year, but you would never have known it. She came to the first day of school like she knows all and with so much joy and excitement. She came in with enthusiasm and eager to learn. Lily has a positive and friendly attitude. I see her often encourage her classmates, help them when they are struggling, and just be a friend to play with. In our class, we really focus on being a good and kind human to all, and she has been a shining example to all her classmates. Lily works really hard and makes sure that she finishes her work before play. She is full of curiosity and questions with each new day. She is excited to learn new things and eager to share what she may know about a particular subject. She has been very creative in her writing, and I cannot wait to see her progression as the year continues. Lily has brought so much joy and happiness to our classroom. She leads by example every day with her positive attitude and friendly demeanor. Thank you, Lily, for your positive presence that you bring to our class. I am very proud of you.
Superintendent Award winner. Congratulations. All right. And just in case, please stick around afterwards. We'll get a group photograph of all the Superintendent Award winners. Sadie Smith and the teacher, Mrs. Isley.
To the family of Sadie Smith, it is my honor to select Sadie for the January Superintendent Award. Sadie is kind, helpful, and responsible. She's a great leader in our classroom and is always someone who I can count on. One thing I appreciate about Sadie is that she is kind to all those around her. It is rare to find someone who is genuine about their kindness, especially in the 3rd grade. She truly cares about all of those around her. Another thing I appreciate about Sadie is that she is always willing to help whenever and however she is needed. She is always willing to put her needs to the side to help other students and does this with a smile on her face. I often find her reading to other students in class, even though it will take her longer to complete her own work. I also appreciate how responsible Sadie is. I can count on her to get her work done and then complete other tasks as needed. When she finishes a task, she just moves on to the next without being asked. It has been a pleasure to have Sadie in class this year, and I'm looking forward to watching her grow throughout the rest of the year. I know she will accomplish many things, both in and out of school.
Nice to see you. Our next Superintendent Award winner is going to be Leland Block and her teacher, Mrs. Watts. You got the winner? All right, I'm gonna let you hold one cup.
Perfect. How you doing? Good. Hey, it's my honor today to present the Superintendent's Award to Leland Block for the month of January 2024. I'm impressed daily with his quiet leadership academically and socially. He's a young man that truly cares about others and models the character traits of empathy and compassion in a noble yet unconditional manner. He always chooses to share the spotlight with his peers and prefers walking beside them instead of walking ahead of them. You're a true peer mentor who helps others without even asking. And most admirably, and I'm going to say this slowly, is your sense of righteousness and equity. It's rare to find a student who critically thinks and forms solid opinions of what is right and wrong when confronted with injustice. Appreciate that. Leland naturally excels academically. He's curious, inquisitive, and honest, and loves the football. He's a Ducks and Chiefs man, rank high. He's a young man who's a warrior in the field and a gentleman and a scholar off. You have a big heart, and you're never embarrassed to express your feelings. You model sportsmanship with pride, and I love watching you guys at recess, and you're a leader. This is the added part, potential. This is what I see, and I want you to look at me right now. I see clear and profound potential. You're an incredibly brilliant young man, all right? You have a wonderful, supportive family. Tell me, Leland, what you're gonna do with your one wild and precious life. I don't know. Thanks to Leland's family who have guided this young man in choices of honor and integrity. Leland, thank you for making the choice every day to be the best you can be, and we're all looking forward to seeing your future. You're the best.
Leland, how much longer before you can run for office? We need you.
Next, I have Tyson and Tyson's teacher, Mrs. Adams.
I don't care.
It is with great honor that I nominate Tyson Ewing for the January 2024 Superintendent Award. Mr. Ewing is a 7th grade student who demonstrates extremely strong leadership skills for a young middle school age scholar. The thing that stands out the most, and I'm so gonna cry.
Don't better. If you cry, you're gonna walk away.
Okay, I'm done. The thing that stands out the most about Mr. Ewing is his consistent kindness. He is often someone who looks out for others, offering to allow them
Stop crying, you're making me nervous.
to borrow supplies and inquiring about their health if they are out sick. He learned at the beginning of the school year that my sister was in the hospital and facing multiple surgeries. See, this is personal.
Please don't cry.
Mr. Ewing, thank you. Mr. Ewing met me every morning at the front of the school where I greet students to get an update about her progress. He did this from the beginning of the school year until she came home from the hospital in November. For me, the simple act of kindness has reminded me of the good in humanity. Mr. Ewing has a huge heart, and I'm honored to be his teacher. Mr. Ewing approaches his learning and history class with a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and he's full of questions and is an inquisitive historian. I like to call on Mr. Ewing in the first few minutes of class because his sincere academic questions often inspire more academic curiosity among his peers. One of Mr. Ewing's strongest traits is his honesty and ability to reflect on what he might have done differently to get a better outcome. I have great respect for his integrity and his determination to do the very best work he can do. Mr. Ewing maintains an excellent grade point average and cares deeply about his academic progress. I'm looking forward to seeing how Mr. Ewing's academic career will proceed, and I am sure that he will continue to be an amazing representative of Reeves Park Community Charter School.
That's pretty impressive right there.
Thank you.
Please accept that award.
I'm so nervous. She's so crying.
Meet your kid over here.
Yep.
So Julia and Julie's teacher, Mrs. Brown.
Everyone, this is Julia. She's awesome. I'll tell you why. It is my great pleasure to recognize Julia as the Superintendent Award winner for the month of January. I have Julia in my U.S. history class each morning, one of my favorite subjects. And one of my favorite things about her is that she comes into my class every day with a big, bright, contagious smile. And from what I hear from her other teachers, she does the same in all of her classes. Julia has an incredibly positive outlook each and every day, and you can tell she is always eager to learn, attributes that will surely help her all throughout her academic career and life. Julia is a leader in the classroom, always being one of the first to jump into class discussions, dig deeper into historical topics, voice her opinions, and ask tough questions. She's an excellent role model to those around her and an incredibly kind person, a theme I'm hearing. She is always willing to step in and help a fellow classmate out in need. She is thorough and thoughtful in all her classroom work. I can always tell she puts in sincere effort into everything she does. Julia, I've learned, has also played a huge role in bringing back our theater department at the high school. She's put in a ton of work behind the scenes to make plays and productions run smoothly. It wouldn't have run without her from what I hear. Julia is a model student. She's enthusiastic about life and learning. She strives for progress over perfection, a quality that I could take a few pointers from her on. Julia has a heart of gold, and from what I've seen over the last semester is that she is always willing to lend a hand to her friends, classmates, and teacher. She's a friend to all. My favorite president, Teddy Roosevelt, Julia can tell you all about him, I'm sure, is famously quoted saying, "The most important single ingredient in the formula of success is knowing how to get along with people." And if any of you in here talk to Julia, you will see that she has never met a stranger and certainly has no trouble getting along with everybody. For this reason alone, I know that Julia will be successful in whatever she chooses in life. Julia is truly a joy to have in the classroom, and I look forward to spending the rest of the year with her and to see what she does with the rest of her high school career and beyond.
I like to try to catch themes. Miss Brown caught one of them. We hear kindness a lot in these letters tonight. We heard high academics and leadership. So it's just like I've done this now 5 years, and themes that are going on, very consistent amongst high achieving students in youth sports. So I love hearing this. I need to get teachers and those students right back up here for one group photo. Yeah. And I'll give Sean in just a moment because she'll be take a picture.
Mrs. Brown, if Julia gets any taller, you're gonna get her to do.
Most of them are already taller than me.
Okay, we're gonna take a picture and everybody's gonna smile in just a minute. 1, 2, 3, smile. And one more for your mom. Okay. Just want to let everybody know when you are done with your part of the meeting that you want to leave, please help yourself to snacks that were provided by our HES kitchen and in honor of our board. Thank you. I told your other teachers about you. Yeah. I don't remember. No.
Okay, moving right along. Community comments.
So, Mr. Chairman, I do have 2 community comments to read, but they seem to very directly apply to the action item policy A2. I could read them now, but they might make more sense in context of that discussion if you want me to defer.
Yes, thank you. Okay, let's move right on into reports then. And we'll start with our wonderful business manager, Rachel Amos.
I have some news for you, Mr. Jones. So I spent a little bit more time in conversation with our bond representative that we had about the question levy that you were asking me about, because her email response to me at the time didn't make sense. And so I asked for clarification, and I don't know if it was not understanding my question or me interpreting information incorrectly, but there are actually a couple of options that we can do at any time as far as a bond levy goes. So I just wanted to share with you that information. The first piece is that when we refinanced in 2019, we refinanced a bond levy that was originally put in place at $1.52 per thousand. Because assessed value increases over time, when we refinanced, it actually made our bond levy $1.13 per thousand instead of $1.52. So potentially you could run a campaign to have the difference made up between that $1.13 and $1.52 of assessed value and bring capital in that way. You can also do an additional bond levy on top of the one that you already have existing and increase over and above that if it's passed. So both options are something that we can do. She understood my question to be refinancing our existing bond like we did in 2019, not releasing more capital on top of that. So she thought I meant paying off the bond that we had and then getting more. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you. So something for
that
you to think about.
makes me think that it's more doable then,
Mhm.
and, you know, it would be, wow,
You're still looking at that portion being made up in current rates, at current rate, right?
I'm just providing the information. I personally would not, I would still wait because of the interest rates. Because I don't think that you will get the bang for your buck based on the interest rates that are in existence at this point. But what I'm saying is instead of waiting 2 years to begin the planning process, you can start looking at making plans and figuring out where your focus is, talking to community stakeholders and so forth. And being more prepared for when interest rates fall enough for it to be logical for the district to pursue.
because I'm sure our new elementary school principal would like that to begin yesterday.
I'm new to it all, so I'm learning.
Okay. Well,
So that was,
that's kind of good news. Thank you very much.
so that was something I knew you were interested in, so I wanted to make sure I got better information for you.
So,
So as far as my reports and so forth go, we talked about the numbers during the work session today. There isn't much change from last month on the board reports. Bob had some questions about the expenditures, about how much we were spending for fuel for the boiler. I think that was a surprise because the bill for that one last month was $12,000. And so we spent about 112,000 last year on oil for our boiler.
for the whole year,
It's 12 to 15, just every time we fill it up, 5,000 gallon tank.
So just making sure that I shared what we were talking about for questions because they had to do with the board report. So that was one of them. And then he asked about school outfitters, which was furniture purchasing. And there was a third one and I can't remember what it was now.
It was, you answered.
DFM.
Oh, yes, that was Fastnet. He asked if it was internet provider. Yes. So those were the questions that he had earlier. The only other thing that I wanted to update the board on is our audit report. Our audit report was completed and submitted both electronically and in paper by the January 2nd deadline. And we will have the auditors presenting the audit report at the February meeting. And it will be done virtually because she recently had a baby and she doesn't want to bring the baby for us to hold during the board meeting, so.
that's kind of rude.
I know, that's what I thought too. But just to give you a heads up on that, we did not have any audit findings, but she has a couple of recommendations that she is going to share for disclosure. And you know how I am, I like to be transparent. So the two things were, we are an accrual district. And so when we get to the end of the year, we actually have a couple of months where we close out the books from the prior year. So if invoices come in July and August that are from the prior year, we can still pay them and they get counted towards last year's numbers. At the end of a fiscal year, I have to reconcile all of our grant funds and make claims on those by the end of July. And then that revenue gets counted towards last year's numbers, but it's not in the bank at that time, so they have to do adjustments to our cash sheet, our cash balance in our audit. And so because we had ESSER funds and I didn't claim the majority of it till July, it almost put us into what it looked like that we were negative cash. So she said, you know, make sure that you do your claims. I'm like, yeah, I know, but we had a big grant. So anyway, that's one of the things that she pointed out. And then the other one was in our debt service. She said that for our GO bond, I wasn't applying enough of our property taxes. I thought it had to be 1-for-1 for what our payments were for the year, but she said, no, you're supposed to have 3 months worth of cash flow at the beginning. So just those two things are not findings. Their recommendations she's going to share with the board. And I just wanted to give you detail about them before they get shared, that they're not concerns, but what the theme of them was for you so that you knew and weren't surprised. I don't like surprises.
She recommended at 3 months. Have you said 3 months early?
No, she just to have a cushion in your debt service account and not go from 0 to 0 at the year that you need to have. So if when your payment comes in, you have money readily available to make that payment.
Okay.
Because we have to pay twice a year. We have to do an interest payment in late November because it's due by December 15th, and then we do a principal and interest payment in June. So our property taxes don't start until November, so we don't have all of the money for the bond payment right away when our first bond payments due. So it looks like we're negative cash. We're borrowing from the general fund for that, and so she made a recommendation that we have it how it should be aligned. So
Just moving funds so
Yes.
that it accounts for that.
Right.
That makes sense.
and that's all for me. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Boy, she'd surely hate to see my check. Any questions for Rachel? Bonnie? Good.
Rachel, are you sticking around? Okay. I have questions for you later, but okay.
All right. Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome.
Superintendent's report.
A couple things. A lot of things. How do you have it on the agenda? Draft LUH, so we'll start with that. In your packet are 2 pages. This is going to require some review, so I'd like us to spend a couple minutes discussing this if you haven't had a chance to read it yet. The LUH MOU. Given a situation where the hospital can't operate in their facility, this MOU is an ask agreement that they're seeking with the school district to have our buildings and facilities be accessible to them as a backup. So some sort of event where the hospital can't open its doors and keep itself open, using our buildings and facilities instead. And as I was thinking about this and talking with their maintenance person, their facilities person, I can imagine a scenario where the hospital is isolated in its closure. Something has happened very specific and locally, a gas leak, where the building itself is not usable. That would carry perhaps a burden to the school district that if we're trying to run school and they need to operate a hospital, we may not be able to support them in that request. If something were to happen of a natural disaster sort, flooding and earthquake on the coast is always sort of the big curiosity, and the hospital can't use their buildings, I doubt in that type of event that school is operating at that particular moment, and it may be more of a reasonable request if our facilities are up that they be able to use them. So a couple of different sorts of lenses to look at this in. I didn't find any language that they had absolute ability to kick us out, but at any moment, our first priority is the education of the students. And so kind of reading this MOU through that lens, I'll give you a couple minutes, but there may be some discussion about whether or not you want to direct me to move forward with this, any questions you want me to relay, or if you just want me to tell them, no, this doesn't work, or something else. So I'll give you a few minutes.
Did you give any thoughts to what internet computer equipment would look like and how, I mean, you've got two different sort of systems where privacy is an issue.
Right, HIPAA versus FERPA.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't read anything in this where we need to be up, we need our systems to operate at their level of capacity.
Mhm.
I'm reading it more as they want to use our system and they'll handle their elements associated, but yeah, that's obviously a big piece.
Yeah, that's just the one, like the use of our computers. And even theirs are inaccessible.
I'm assuming because this, I read this as they can't operate in their hospital and they need to be able to have a space and they want to be able to use ours. They want this MOU so they know in advance.
Who drafted it?
Where they go, they're a facilities person. I should remember her name, but I don't. We met with her and Michael Shoppy and I, and all of this language, this is not the right word, but reads kind of squishy. I don't read anything in here that's so absolute that either party is overly locked in, but again, it took our students out of the classroom to open a hospital. That would be a big concern.
Why can't they use the community center?
I think this is one of several sites for them. If the community said, if this was the earthquake scenario, the tsunami scenario, then that bridge is gone. The earthquake, the community center is probably off limits. They're out of reach. They have a business office too that they would consider the old church there on frontage. I think this is one of many options for them, just depending on what's going on and what the need is and what type of situation has caused them to be closed.
Item 5, cost. Alternate care site facility operations will be submitted for consideration and reimbursement. I mean, talk about squishy. No, we don't want to pay that.
Right.
Yeah, that has to change. Yeah.
Yeah, that was something I was looking at.
Yeah, that would be definitely a consideration. I would say that I would want to build in stronger agreement language there.
Is it more of an overflow, John?
I don't read it as overflow. I read it as,
An alternative.
yeah, they can't use theirs, so they want to come use ours. They in a hurry. And then they want to know that if they come knocking, that we've already kind of worked out the, yes, this will work element. And I pointed out to our biggest piece is going to be, if we're trying to run school, we're not going to necessarily stop school for this. We may not be able to help in all circumstances. But if we're having a big issue going on, we probably don't have school going on. If a hospital is
Can we have school without gymnasium usage?
I would think so. Well, in the cafeteria, the gymnasiums where we feed everybody in the island, we don't feed our students in the high school gym. We probably do a big class around. You could have a big space if you needed to use an area.
Maybe verbiage to that effect. If it happens during class times, school's still in session, but you can use the gyms kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of spaces in the gym.
I would like to see maybe different parts of both the grade school and the high school that could be utilized for their purpose and still not affect operations of our school. I understand that if it's something, so to the point where it affects the hospital, that we're probably not going to have school anyways. But it seems like with the amount of space we have in an emergency situation, utilizing gym, big gym, small gym, wrestling room, auditorium, that could be feasible still for them and for us, operation in the classrooms. I don't know.
I think there's maybe a couple classrooms in Highland that if we moved a bunch of furniture items out in haste that aren't currently full classroom settings, but they might have some small group opportunities, or they might be used by staff for other stuff, but we could probably, in a pinch, clear out 2 of them fairly quickly. Would alter operations in the course of the school day, but school could function for the classrooms, and we just rearrange some of the special activities and special groups.
And, you know, getting Michael and their facilities manager and building administrators, you know, where if those were outlined and verbalized or put in print on this MOU, it might make it easier to maintain or to understand.
Any other things you'd like to see me negotiate with them or work back and forth with them on? Or I guess if items pop up, don't hesitate to email me. I'll get a hold of her and I'll probably go to meet the next week or so.
Yeah, I think the cost, for me, the big one would be the expenses to tie them down a little bit better on that. I think that's a
I
big
saw
one.
that.
And then those, you know, just use of equipment, I guess I would have to,
I'm assuming fax machines and telephones.
I'm guessing that's it. I'm less interested in having them use computers and, you know, I mean, in the event of a catastrophic event, there's probably likely going to be little use of computers. So
Yeah.
they can go back to paper charting. I prefer it anyway.
Any other questions on that subject for John? Any other input? Bonnie, you good over there? All righty. Okay, thank you, John.
Number 2, the SIA grant agreement, 28 pages in your packet. We gave you the presentation last month about the application being submitted. This is you in the consent agenda accepting the money that goes with the application. So there's nothing really in this grant agreement about the application that was presented last month. This is all the legalese about making sure we spend the money correctly. But if you want to, in your consent agenda, it's one of the items to be approved. I appreciate it. Rachel would appreciate it as well. So we can receive the money. So pretty easy on that part, unless there's a question about accepting the money. I think so.
Now we just take a normal vote.
It's in the, I stuck in the consent because I assume that everybody here wants it.
Okay.
You can pull it out of consent if you want to discuss it in more detail. Okay, I have started talking with both of the associations about next year's school calendar, trying to move a little quicker. I noticed when I pulled out my template for the year, the framework of school days and in-service days and grading days and vacations. If I took this year's template and I just applied it to next year's calendar, it overlaid really nicely. Usually there's some weeks of, well, do we do it this week, do we do it the next week? Usually there's some kind of discussion that needs to go back and forth, but the way the days aligned out between this year and next year's calendars, it overlaid pretty nicely. So I made an initial show to both the associations. Right now, there hasn't been a huge amount of questions. I think we need to probably have one more round of double checking and make sure that everybody is satisfied with what it looks like. So hopefully I'll be bringing a school operation calendar to you, hopefully by the next meeting, so we can get it presented so our community can have it. You know, our staff will see it. Usually we do that later in the year. It'd be nice to have it out earlier so folks know what to plan for. So.
Are you still looking at end of August, starting last week of August, ending second week of June?
Yeah, it's the same template. We go a week before the Labor Day, and then we'll have the Labor Day, and then school picks up, have the 5-day school week right after the Labor Day week, and then it's 4-day school weeks after from there on out. then a week of in-service prior. Actually, the template laid really nicely from this year's calendar on top of next year's. Just so, because it was so easy, I showed it to the folks, and I think there's still a little discussion amongst their groups, so that's fine. We can just be aware we're being active about that. We need to get into the record, and our minutes need to show that we have submitted our early literacy grant. Early literacy grant, I think for us is about $80,000. It's non-competitive. Had a phone call yesterday. Governor Kotek wanted to get the superintendents on a Zoom. And I guess 100% of the school districts in Oregon submitted this, which I'm a little surprised. Some people may not have been quite as interested in some of the effort, but 100% of districts did submit. The intention of the grant is research-based, high focus, high intensity literacy instruction, really targeting grades kindergarten through third grade to really make readers early so that they're successful in the later grades going through school. And there are several ways to do this. We're going to focus we did focus our grant application on curriculum purchase, the professional development that goes along with that curriculum purchase, and any materials we need to do for that curriculum, workbooks, anything else that goes along with getting the curriculum to work in the classroom. Our staff need to be trained, so there's quite a few hours, and being able to pay them for that time to get trained, get them caught up to speed on how to use the curriculum correctly. So that'll consume most of our $80,000. Our grant has been submitted. We're supposed to have something in the minutes of the board meeting that we've talked about this and gone over it. And we can have a budget of how we'll break that down by the next meeting if folks want to look at it. But those were the three areas we sort of we decided to spend the money in. I think, as I heard yesterday and kind of listened to some of the other soups around the state talking, the science of reading seems to be the general trend and focus for this. So I see that. I think the reason that this grant was put together and Governor Kotek has pushed it so much is to try to get all of Oregon schools using the science of reading as the curriculum focus for K-3 instruction. So mostly need to make note of it here, and if anybody has comment, to be sure that we provide that opportunity.
So that's the curriculum, the science of reading?
The science of reading. Lisa,
So that's like the philosophy, if you will. The curriculum we use is called H&H Into Reading. So that's the company's curriculum that we use.
H2.
HMH, Houghton Mifflin, something, I don't remember what the other H is.
Hartford.
No,
HMH what?
HMH Into Reading.
N2
Into like.
reading.
The science of reading is the research-based best practices, all the things you're supposed to do, at what level to do them at to get the most impact in learning.
Is there any set aside funding or funding? I'm thinking of special readers. You know, we know often that kids with ADHD tend to have issues with reading, and there's some of that included as well.
Yeah, it aligns with our testing that we use. NWA Maps has direct correlations, like the scores and then the resources and all that are synced. So we can pull resources from them, and the data and stuff goes side by side. So
identifying those kids early on.
Yeah, and there's a dyslexia screener with the NWA Map testing that we do.
So any materials that we need to supplement these curriculum or be part of the curriculum is part of what we would be focusing this year's spending on. And this is, I think, is intended to be an annual bucket of money. And if they're planning it for the entire state, I mean, it feels like it's just one more way of directing our spending and getting some compliance reporting out of the process.
And this is just for the elementary school?
It's, right now it's set for K-5, that's supposed to be focusing on K-3. There's some allowances for this year's fifth graders. And next year, some more allowances for next year's fourth graders, but then it's really supposed to target those early readers and get them up and operating at a high level so that they can be successful going forward.
And how is success measured?
Well, we use our Common Core state standards, and you want them at grade level on the standards.
When they are at that grade?
And
What a concept.
if they're operating that way and they should go test that way. And
Okay.
John, when do you anticipate receiving grant funds? They have a deadline?
The early literacy grant was a race. They didn't let us start submitting the application until December. And we had to have it done I think, yesterday or Monday, midnight. So hopefully the next couple of months, that should be getting rolled out. But they've allowed us to have expenditures going back into October.
Nice.
Don't quote me. So they're going to cover it and they're promising the money. This is 180 versus 80.
This is our high school success allocation. This is our SIA allocation. They have the wrong number on the grant agreement.
We want the big number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Minor detail.
Is it a test for you?
Just so that, yeah, they know.
So questions about our early literacy grant application?
Are we already spending on it?
Are we what?
You said that it can allocate back to October. Are you already spending on it?
Yeah, we've already made our curriculum purchase for the year, so as much of that as we can offset to that early literacy grant, we're going to, but our production development's ongoing through the year, so we're gonna have that on Fridays as they come in and get their training.
And what, oh, how, is that gonna be, how's that gonna be broken down as far as the monies go for each building, John?
It's all K3, so
All through K.
all Highland, yeah.
I thought there was some money in there for,
This year, I think we're allowed to spend up to 10% of it into the fifth grade, and I think next year we're allowed to extend it into the fourth grade, but it's really designed to be focused at K3.
okay.
Bonnie, you have any questions?
Hmm.
Can I ask Bonnie, do you have any questions?
Bonnie, do you have any questions? Okay, good thing you got the volume down, because I thought I heard you snoring over there.
I still have quite a few things here.
Okay.
Sorry for running on.
No.
Savannah Wright and the Charter Advisory Council got back to me. Things that they're working on, they list, they want to act as a liaison between our community stakeholders, staff, students, parents, community at large, and making recommendations towards district improvement. So they want to reach out and be sure that they're a hub of the information. They want to work at developing creative ways to get parent involvement back in the schools or to increase parent involvement in schools. They want to serve as the vehicle for building community support and encouraging a greater community participation in the district. And finally, they want to review parent-student surveys, feedback information, and see what that applies to the first 3 points. They want to make sure that the school board, that the 5 of you are okay with this as their effort. They've written letters and to many of the businesses and many of the community members, and they're trying to introduce themselves and trying to just establish the link of communication, I guess. And they're hoping that by springtime to have an open house and some sort of presentation about what that work is and how they're trying to create re-engagement with the schools in the school district. So
they would like to stay banded and continue their work.
that's what I'm understanding. They're looking for more members. And so I've noticed a bit of a dwindle in the meetings I've attended, but I have also seen a pretty strong core of people who have been there. Any questions about the?
When is their meetings, John? Are they?
They offset it with the board meetings. I think we were doing 5 o'clock Wednesdays. I think it was the first Wednesday. But over the break, we did not have them. Let's see if I got one on percent. I don't. I believe it was following a pattern of first Wednesdays, Gary.
Mhm.
They were right after the school day.
Still being held at the library island?
We were having them in the boardroom the last time, but we'd also bounced them around the libraries just to try to make it more accessible to staff.
Okay.
So I think the most recent ones were here in the boardroom.
I thought I had it on my shared calendar, but I don't see it.
The school board had given me the name of a student in our high school to be
Oh,
nominated.
can I back up just a minute?
Right.
Did you hear from district leadership team? That was kind of they were dual
No.
inquiries.
Yeah, no, and the district leadership team hasn't met since
Before the
Yeah.
the beginning of the school year.
summer. Yeah, it's been a while, and there's been enough changes in positions that's gonna be a pretty big reorganization effort.
So is that mean disbanded or?
If it's gonna do the same work that a charter advisory is doing, or I don't know that there was a clear differentiation. They were working towards the end of the DLT on just staff morale activities, and that can also be accomplished through other mechanisms that we already have in place. So,
District office has kind of taken the mantle with a lot of that.
That and the administrative team. I mean, they do quite a bit to work on the culture of their buildings. And so I think at administrative level, that's sort of gets covered. So I think until we have a different purpose or a reason, each building kind of has their groups that meet on different parts of operation. And I think they operate pretty well. So until there's a clear need or a direction to take on, it's an extra meeting that isn't doing anything. Okay. The school board had given me the name of a high school student that wanted to see nominated for the Rural Caucus membership. I'm going to meet with that student here tomorrow and put together their application. Is due, I think, the 15th. So we've got a couple of days to get it done. The application process is not very complex. We just need to make a 2-minute video with this person and kind of express their interest about what they're doing and why they feel strongly about small schools. And hopefully it's enough to be one of the 6 people chosen so that they'll be part of that panel that would be supported by OSBA going to the national conference. So moving forward, students interested, and we'll keep you posted if they're selected or not.
And no more information about how travel is funded or how it is.
Not since yesterday.
Okay.
So I'm pretty firmly convinced though that OSBA will be handling it.
I think so.
Sorry, I'm talking so much here. After listening to Rachel's presentation, Charlotte and I are going to visit tomorrow about, there's a bond conference that's held every other year up in Salem. And since Rachel brought that up in her report, I will go see what I can learn at the bond conference about that opportunity. Last bit of information, principals in February are going to be reporting on academic data this year. The board has selected one of my goals to be getting our math and reading scores up. So we'll get a report on the data and what those MAPS assessment scores look like from fall to winter and what trends we notice and what's happening with that. So that's coming next month. And I'll stop talking for a little bit. Oh, one more thing. I'm not done talking. Lewis Transportation notified us that they were not selected at this time to receive that grant for electric school buses or the infrastructure for those buses. I didn't hear directly from Lewis that they had an interest in reapplying. I just know that at this time, their grant was not picked out of the applications.
You have an enrollment report in our packet.
Correct. We'll be putting that in the back of the report section every month. If you have any questions about it.
Looks like there's a little bit of attrition. Is that normalcy mid-year?
The winter months, we did. We usually start pretty high at the beginning. We'll see some come back in the spring. We're not too far off. We usually sit at 600. Being 15 down the winter is not a surprise or a worry to me. It stays down at the end of the year. I'll feel differently.
Where do they go?
We can't count them after a 10-day drop. So it could be just as simple as they've gone on vacation and haven't come back. I wish I could tell you I knew exactly where everybody was. We have a high mobility rate on the coast here. I've just noticed that we always get that winter drop. Students in and out, and we've got students checking in and enrolling in our district currently. So it's a mobility piece. I've seen it every year I've been here. I worried the first time I saw it. The second year I saw it, I was like, it's happening again. And it's 6 years now.
Like families moving.
Yeah. And we'll get them back in the next year and then it'll come and go. When a student has a 10-day drop, we don't get to count them. Sometimes it can be as simple as we haven't seen them in a couple of weeks. And we have that happening too. And there's a variety of reasons that families don't have their kids in school. I believe they should. And getting to the point, I've seen districts much larger be able to staff a position of an attendance person. And that's your charismatic, fresh out of college young person who's going door to door, identified addresses and tell me, hey, we know that John Zunke lives at this house. We haven't seen him in a month. Go see if you can talk him and his family to get him back to school. But that's a different type of work. Right now, we don't have that ability to staff that type of position. But it's a thing.
How much time is our school resource officer spending in our schools? Is he working the road too?
He does have, like he was telling me the other day, when he's phrased, he catches a criminal case, he's supposed to go. So there's going to be times where something is going on and the officer in town needs support. Unless he's in the middle of a bigger issue, he's supposed to stop and we go to that. So he does not spend his entire time in our buildings. My understanding is there's report writing that goes into that position. And so there could be times where he has to go do reports down at the police department. But apparently catching a case or catching a criminal case can pull him out of our buildings on occasion.
Because I had the opportunity to be lazy the other day and took a friend of mine to lunch at Dawn's. And when I was a school resource officer, if I wasn't out and about, or I'd have, officers on the road who call me and say, hey, Jonesy, you got 4 kids, that aren't in school. It's a school day. And the other day, I counted 6 kids that were school age at the skate park during the school hours. And, you know, I called down and of course, the only supervisor they have is they have a lieutenant that's trying to get certified for Oregon and the chief, but there wasn't, I talked to the dispatch and said, hey, you know, if you got somebody, might be worth, you know, having them go by and just talk to the kids and see what I can take to school or, you know, if they're whatever. And I finished my lunch and never did see a police officer show up, but, you know, that would be something that would be a good thing for the school resource officer. If, you know, he's up at the school or, you know, either school, just have them, you know, like I said, there were 6 school age kids at that skate park during school hours. So.
Second, right there. You just log on.
Yeah, Keenan.
Oh, did he log on?
Here's your Vernon.
So that's all I have under superintendent report.
Okay. Oh, Bonnie, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Okey dokey, Arthur.
Are you talking about JJ Reader?
Yeah.
What, you just replayed it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, consent agenda still.
Anybody else have any questions for Jonah? All right, let's move.
Do you want to mute?
Let's move on to consent agenda, please. Both approval of the board minute meeting from December 13th and approval of student investment account, grant number 34523. I'd entertain a motion.
So just to clarify, that grant is actually $677,718.07, not the $180,000 that is shown on the grant agreement. So I'm gonna get that corrected.
Can we take 180,000?
I'd rather take the big number.
Oh, not 180, 100, okay, no.
The agreement says 180.
It's not zero.
It's supposed to be 677.
I've asked Rachel to go argue with them through EGUMS with their transportate the financial system and get that number squared away. If you'll accept the SIA grant at the correct dollar amount.
As amended by
Yeah.
Rachel Nance.
Yeah.
That works? Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve both A and B, the consent agenda with B, as long as B has Rachel Amos's recommended dollar evaluation.
We have a motion by Curio in a second. All right, Bob, thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise their left hand, say aye. Aye.
Which left?
Yep,
Sorry.
I like being different.
Just left.
Okay. Now you have your marching order, Jacob. Action item. This is usually the part where we lose our administrators.
I'm not letting them go this time.
You aren't?
We don't have piles and piles of policy. They get to stick the agenda, stick to the agenda.
Really, through and through?
Yeah.
Are you trying to get them to?
I gave them the year off when we have those big packets of policy. We're just waiting through.
Are you trying to get them through to discussion?
I just think that they can stick with the meeting.
Thank you, Jerry, say so, thank you. Okay.
Okay, action item. The small desk policy rewrite.
So this was one of 2 that you brought back. There is a suggestion edit that I believe Carrie submitted, and it should be in your packet. So I'll find your KG policy.
And then I would just add, changing the verbiage just a little bit.
So the parts in red are additions, and you can see where there's strike throughs and some additions in red. Carrie, you had a.
So in the red, it says any person, group, or organization receiving, and it should say $600 or more per calendar year. So that strike through more than, and then start with 600, add or more per calendar year. That would be the correction on that item. And then that red school district strike through, that was their original proposal. So they're saying school offices rather than district
Okay.
offices. And then the distributed copies to the building administrator, that means it comes here anyway, so that works. There was one other question about 3 months. They had recommended 3 months. And we were going to, I think that sounds like a kind of a heavy administrative burden for district secretary and or district administrative assistant.
Yeah.
Title. So I would say, we can ask OSBA if 1 year is appropriate, or if there was specific reasons why they wanted 3 months in that language.
To be transparent here, if you guys have these additions and approve that this type of language, I will take it to OSBA to be sure that it's still the legal muster. I'll bring it back as a third reading if these additions are things that you wish to include in policy KG. And this is completely within your prerogative as a board to try to satisfy the needs of the district. So it looks like you've got some pieces here.
And then part of the AR, there are fees associated with facility use, and I wanted you to just review those fees and see how, in some cases you have, like church organizations get charged $5. It's sort of a nominal fee for, utilities and use. But things like that, and if we shouldn't be charging more for like the loan field versus, there's all kinds of fee structures that in the AR it would be.
So looking at the AR to make it more comparative to what other districts around us do and maybe keep up with the cost of inflation and actual cost of what our staffing needs are in those pricings.
To take in $5 probably is more work than to, than it's worth, so.
Okay.
It's very outdated.
Thank you.
It's about a third of what it probably should be.
Yeah, I figured. That's why I thought you could be helpful in terms of actually justifying it to, inflation and relative cost. And then that would also put a line item on the facility use agreement with an EIN number, just so that we know that anybody receiving more than $600 using district facilities is actually, that they're appropriately taking in funds and it's being accounted for.
I didn't notice on the AR or on the regular policy that it said anything about the groups must be in compliance with board policy.
Sorry, you say that again?
I didn't see anything where it stated that like the groups using the facility needed to comply with board policy.
It's just the work and ethics laws.
Yeah, because there's specific board policy that is related to certain
behaviors and, okay.
So
baking in that somewhere?
I would think that would be.
The district may discontinue facility usage any time if determined not to be appropriate.
Yeah.
So it does present the power back to the district to cancel them if its policies aren't being followed. That's the last paragraph that's not highlighted.
In the research that I did for the fees, I noticed a lot of the policies were showing, like you had to align with board policy specifically because each district has different board policies on different things that have come up that have been controversial. So it might be something to consider.
I would agree with that.
So something in line about groups using facilities are expected to adhere to school policies.
Any person, group, or organization using facilities, school facilities needs to adhere to and follow board policy.
Okay, I can throw that in if you wish to view that as a third reading. If that's what you want. I'm not looking at one person, looking at all of you.
What?
That could probably go in a paragraph with the use of facilities in accordance with Oregon ethics laws.
Yeah.
And board policy, you know. Let's see if there's anything else on the AR that. So hold over for a third reading. Just hold over for a third reading.
If you wish to see the added language in red, and if you want me to have a line about following all school board policies, I will run that through OSBA to be sure that phraseology is correct, that it meets legal specification, and I can bring it back to a third reading with their approval.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah.
That works for you?
Yeah.
I would abstain from that since I injected the language and then I'm not here next month anyway.
We don't need a vote, I just need direction on that part,
Yeah.
so.
Bonnie, are you okay with it? Thank you. Jack?
Yeah. How are you
Bob?
doing?
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. KGBBB.
Okay, you gave me a lot of homework on this, so I'll try to go through it kind of as I have it laid out in front of me. First of all, I requested a call back from the Douglas County Sheriff Department to have one of their representatives attend the meeting tonight to give input. Did not get a call back from Lieutenant Brad Odell about that. When I spoke to our local police chief, he was very frank with me, and I appreciate his honesty that his department did not have an interest in directing us how to design the policy that we're going to have. He feels that the police department needs to do their job. They will come in and do their work and follow our policies, but he didn't want to tell us what to put into our policy. He was going to have one of his representatives here tonight. I don't see Lieutenant Bill here, so we don't have either of our local police agencies able to come in and answer questions. So moving ahead with what I've got, I've reached out to our neighboring school districts, and without naming who, I said, how many of you have a policy, or how many of you adopted this policy, and how many of you have signs out? Because that seems to be what the policy talks about, the requirements of signage. First school district, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Of the ones who responded, 6 out of 7 did not adopt the policy. One person who said they did, with the caveat, we adopted the policy, but we looked the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them don't put up any type of signage. And one says they have some limited signs and they didn't adopt the policy. So that's our neighbors in the South Coast who were able to respond to me on that.
So so explain that they were using signs but didn't adopt the
They
policy?
did not adopt the policy. But they have limited signs up around their district properties that they just want to put up without the policy.
Okay.
No liability there, is there?
Well,
What?
the legislation in 2021 seems very centered around clarifying for CCL holders that this is a
How about for,
weapon-free zone, And if it is, to be very clear and very absolute, all entrances and clearly marked.
So if you don't adopt the policy, then it's kind of all comers. I mean, open carry is okay. I mean-
Open carry is not okay anywhere, but what we don't know.
What do you mean by anywhere?
Anywhere on school property. We don't want any open carry. We don't have any open carry. Our SRO turned a person around a couple months ago who was in our parking lot, walking into school to drop off their student, very benignly, but that had to turn around.
And if the SRO is not there?
And hopefully a school official sees them, or, I mean, the person was walking their kid into school and didn't seem to be any intention other than just they were going about their day. If they remembered or they forgot, I couldn't tell you. I just heard from the SRO later that he turned a person around and wasn't going to allow them on the property because they had their firearm on
So
their hip.
an SRO has a certain distinct privilege of power, whereas a building administrator doesn't necessarily have that same
I
distinct
believe my
privilege of
administrator
power.
would have done that. I believe they would
What's
have
that?
walked right up to the person and said, hey, we can't have that here, turn them around.
Mhm.
I have absolute confidence.
But if somebody wants to push the issue, I don't have an issue with our administrators being able to do it. But to be able to put teeth in it, I mean,
Yeah.
an SRO has teeth.
I also think that administrators are going to be told anything other than, I agree and I'm leaving, that they would turn right around and call 911. We're not going to allow guns on the property. So a person with a CCL that we don't see their gun, don't know they have it, is what this piece kind of has the question about. We received 2 community comments. So I'll read those to you real quick because that was deferred from earlier. Roxanne Derglow is an employee. I feel the district should allow employees with concealed weapons permit to conceal carry on district property. I also feel that if employees decide to conceal carry, they should inform the superintendent, principal of the school, dean of students, and the resource officer of this decision. There should also be some stipulations like wearing appropriate clothing to keep the weapon properly concealed, and some extra training on how to act around students while you are concealing a weapon. I do not feel it would be appropriate for non-employees to carry concealed weapons on district property as we do not know their background.
How do you determine?
I can't quite hear you.
Sorry, I just don't understand how you would distinguish.
Yeah, and I think our G chapter policy, I don't know which number, doesn't allow staff to have weapons on property anyway, but that's not one that we're looking at right now. Teresa Eileen Jesus. We not only need our schools protected, we need to have armed citizens or even armed veterans routinely guarding the school and protecting our students. I can tell you we do not need signs all around our school and outside of it stating gun-free zone, which makes our children easy targets, sitting ducks, victims. The idea that removing all firearms from the school and the vicinity is a very bad idea, and we need to protect our children, and all that entails not just law enforcement carrying firearms, but teachers who are trained and licensed to carry. I like the idea of paying for 1 or 2 armed guards or upstanding citizens, retired veterans to protect our schools. This is where our funds need to go. If you recall, there was a shooting somewhere in USA and the cops were profanity cowards and they heard gunshots and literally did not go in to protect the children, stayed outside while the shooter was killing off kids. We need firearms in the schools. We need teachers that are packing. We need veterans that the local government puts on salary to be on the front line protecting our children. This is a no-brainer to my way of thinking. We need to be incredibly diligent in protecting our children and community from terrorism, foreign and domestic. This is a dangerous world, and if we aren't willing to be fighting, we will be slaughtered like so many other places in small town America. In case some of you still have just kind of being disparaging here, we are at war. Be prepared or be assumed forgotten statistic, we the people. So those are the 2 community comments received through email as a kind of thing for this particular policy discussion. So last Friday and this Monday, I met with staff from each of the buildings. Staff were able to go to either meeting that they wanted to meet with me. I had staff attend both meetings. I believe we heard a pretty clear description of what the concerns are around the policy from the staff. And I think we heard the spectrum of, we don't want to see any guns, we don't want to have any guns, we want nothing to do with guns in schools. We saw that end. We saw people making comments about it should be okay for people with CCLs. A couple of comments that stood out. A staff member said that the sight of a gun on school is going to cause an immediate need for considering going into lockdown because we don't know who the person is, why. And so allowing guns would put us into more lockdown situations, I think, is the implication. Other comments kind of noted we shouldn't be advertising, there's not going to be resistance. And that seems to be kind of on the other side of the discussion. Staff members made comments about they would rather have professionals protecting us rather than somebody with a concealed license and an unknown disposition about how they're feeling or how their attitude is. I think my opinion is we saw a pretty diverse set of responses, probably on both sides of the discussion. And I think all parts of it sort of got hit upon. I don't know that there is a solid sense one way or the other.
I want to back up, and you said something about policy G and.
In chapter G, which is about personnel, it says that staff shouldn't be can't have weapons.
So even if they have concealed carry, we already have policy that says
Right.
that staff. So really, we're just talking about allowing visitors to the buildings.
And the example I used in several conversations, the UPS driver. I think a UPS driver has a regular expected opportunity to conduct their business of coming in and out of schools. And if a person in that type of work is in and out of schools, has a concealed handgun license, we don't know they have their gun, they're operating back and forth in the course of a school year. That probably is the type of scenario. The Senate Bill 554 in 2021 is requiring that if boards are going to make a firearm prohibition, a gun-free zone, that it has to be clearly labeled, posted, so that a UPS driver who otherwise would expect to be able to walk into the school with their firearm concealed knows they can't go in there, that it is a violation, and in that case would be subject to either misdemeanor or felony charges if they violate that. But it puts the requirement of signage and making it very clear so that anybody with a CCL is on notice. And that's, I had to call OSBA and sort of do the background. And I called OSBA. I said, is there a middle ground? Is there a way to have a firearms prohibition without signs? He said, no, that was basically the whole point of the legislation, was to make it abundantly clear and put people with CCLs on notice when firearms were prohibited. Right, yeah. Spencer at OSBA kind of recommended when it boils down to, the board is kind of looking at a decision of what is the best interest of the school that the board is in charge of, what makes them the safest, what is the need. He says the trend is probably the more urban areas, Salem's and Portland's, have been adopting this policy. Most of the eastern half of the state, and most of the southern half of the state have not been adopting the policy. That was his sort of anecdotal analysis of what he knows from who has and who hasn't. I think that covers all the research that I've got for you.
Thank you.
So we're gonna carry KG over for a third reading.
Which one are we carrying over?
KG, the community use of school facilities.
Number one.
And number 2, firearms prohibited. What are we gonna do with this?
You ready for a motion? Or not? On the gun.
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we allow concealed carry on our district grounds and in our schools.
Jack, let me restate one piece here. The whole policy is identified by OSBA as conditional required. And as I heard your motion just now, you're saying that we are not adopting policy KGBB. And by not adopting policy KGBB, then you are allowing concealed carry on school grounds.
Right.
If-
Or if we do nothing. Just leave it alone.
If we do nothing on that policy, if we adopt this policy, then we need to get signs up.
No. We need to do nothing with this.
So I'm just clarifying for you that by not adopting this policy, I think is what you're saying is allowing CCLs on the school ground.
Correct.
Okay.
Bonnie, do you understand that?
If I understand correctly, it's to move that we not adopt this policy at all.
Very good. You're up to date. Pardon? There you go. And it's been moved and seconded to not adopt KGBB. All in favor, raise their left hand, say aye. Aye.
Same.
Very good. There you go, John. Thank you.
So John, you have it on record that I abstained from both.
Same.
Okay. Discussion items, staff appreciation, one date to recognize all staff, what date?
Last year, rather than a March classified appreciation followed by a May certified appreciation, we did in April all staff appreciation. And in that, you spent a week where you went, I think it was Tuesday to one building, Thursday to the other building. We had some food for staff, t-shirts, and we did staff appreciation in mass rather than just a classified group and then later on just a certified group. The point, what I think was that in May, there's no school left and they were getting t-shirts, never getting a chance to wear them. We were appreciating one before the other. There were just a few things. So I think the singular month brought parity. It also made it easier for the board to have one dedicated time where all 5 of you would be there rather than 2 separate split out occasions.
I know it gets tricky with some classified schedules, but I'm wondering if there's, I mean, I don't think we've lost any days up to this point. Is there any thought in having everybody come together as a single group? One day, one group?
Yeah, it gets tricky on the Fridays because if we make them show up, we have to pay them. And otherwise we won't get it.
Oh, my Lord. That would be terrible to make them pay them for fun.
Careful, you're gonna put Rachel into,
She can sit there quietly. She doesn't.
you're gonna over.
Professional day, development day, kind of with something tagged on to an
Kind of
hour
with a
or two
loaded
of
baked
it.
potato.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, professional development day with a loaded baked potato.
you know what, that might be something to put on the 24-25 calendar, is to pick next year's date and we'll calendar it and budget it and plan it.
Okay.
This would be short notice. We wouldn't be probably able to pull it off logistically, people. But if you want to make that something item on the 24-25 calendar, pick a Friday that this will be our staff appreciation day, all district. Put them on notice now. We will have to pay them, but we could absolutely schedule it that way.
We could all go to Mr. Ewing's for barbecue.
We'll talk about it.
So,
What is,
so that wouldn't be feasible for this year. So we gotta get right back to one date,
What
recognize
date?
all staff. What date?
And well, if you want to do it that way, I would suggest one building and then the other building, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday. You have general predictable work conflicts. You want to sandwich it on either side of your board meeting in April, so you do Tuesday, and you got Wednesday board meeting and Thursday. Just throwing out a few ideas there.
is there any feedback from staff about what they prefer?
I think last year we had a few who would prefer that it be split up. But I think generally it was appreciated that everybody was together. I'd say it was, you're never going to please everybody. And we heard from the ones who wanted it split. I think overall it was appreciated when it was together. Jerry, do you recall anything?
What do the principals say?
I think they thought it was all right last year, when the way it was done. I think that if it was done on a Friday, you're gonna have a real hard time having classified come in from Coos Bay or Florence for a baked potato. They won't do it.
Yeah, we'd have to pay them.
I didn't say anything about Friday.
So you're saying we'd have
Oh, I
to,
thought it was a Friday.
so you're saying we'd have to throw in some barbecued shrimp or something with baked potato?
Maybe might reel those one in. I just don't know.
I know we got the salmon fillets.
They're gonna be gone by then. We have an inn, you know, we can get some real bakers out of Idaho, maybe. Yeah.
I think that sounds good. My only caveat would be to get some staff input to help give them something that they would really enjoy, you know.
Well,
I don't want to force a baked potato on someone.
if we,
Isn't going to enjoy it.
if we say we're gonna do it in April, we can have the principals do some surveying about what might be nice, if it's breakfast, if it's lunch, if it's luncheons, or, and that gives us time to plan. Just, I think Sharman and I need to kind of know, and then we'll put our principals on point to start checking with their buildings. If you have a generalized idea of how you want to operate.
We need a class on how to make the proper size breakfast burrito, because I always get chewed out for making the breakfast burrito too big. And how do you have a breakfast anything without gravy, for crying out loud? Come on. I made breakfast pizza for my grandson. We had plenty of gravy on that pizza. It was wonderful.
So April 10th is your board meeting. The 9th and the 11th, if we book them now, we can make those work for either lunch or breakfast. We can do some shuffling. That's assuming that the 5 of you are otherwise available. Or I'll throw some dates out. Not 9 and 11. And sandwich your board meeting on the 10th.
Look at this cowboy going to his calendar on his phone.
Can't teach them my old dog tricks.
I know. And looking at it.
I was most surprised you just didn't flip it open.
So April 9th or 11th.
April 9th is Tuesday. Wednesday the 10th for the board meeting, and then Thursday the 11th for the other building.
And we're gonna ask for a little help from the building administrators to see what kind of we're gonna do, lunch or a breakfast or
So
something.
I'll assign Lisa and Jerry to find out what their building wants, a breakfast or a lunch. And I'll let them arm wrestle to see who gets what day.
I know that last year, they appreciated the lunch more than the breakfast because the breakfast is kind of getting go, because all the kids there, they didn't get to sit down to actually eat it with the people.
We can always have
But I can
breakfast for lunch.
do that too.
I mean, you know, do you like breakfast for lunch?
Yes,
And
yes.
I mean, I'm a lover of breakfast at all times of the day, so, you know.
Can I, one thing, so I have 3 employees that only work Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if we can maybe not consider the Wednesday and be a Tuesday,
Yeah,
Thursday.
Wednesday is the board meeting.
Wednesday's the board meeting.
It's either a Tuesday or a Thursday. Gotcha.
Yeah, you're a good catch. You do.
So that means you two have to arm wrestle for who gets.
Or Rochambeau or whatever. I didn't mean to say arm wrestle, I apologize.
What's wrong with arm wrestling?
They can do what they want to. I'm not gonna force anybody. No, I'm super embarrassed. I just gotta shut up.
John, may I make a public comment?
Public comment.
Yes, Brad's birthday is April 25th, so that date can be considered.
Wrap it off for one.
April 25th?
Put it on the calendar.
So we need to have this all done up by,
If,
ready to go by next meeting, right?
yeah, 9th and 11th, so when they come back and get their reports about the data in their building, they'll iron out which day they're doing, which day we're in what building, and if it's breakfast or lunch, and that gives Charmin and I a chance to start planning with Heidelberg. Probably get Mr. Heidelberg involved too.
So Bob, just to let you know, that is, we're all hands on deck for that, helping out and contributing in more ways than one, if you will.
And don't worry, if you can't cook, we'll help you. We just, yeah.
No,
Okay, moving on. Any community comments that came in after we started?
I think so. I didn't see that. I don't see anything on here about community comments. No. Thank you.
Board member comments. Bonnie? Do you have anything?
It's been a nice meeting from afar. Congratulations to everybody on the board. You guys are all superstars, and I'll be thinking about you later.
Good luck on your surgery.
Thank you.
Okay, there you go.
Bonnie, I just hope everything goes well and you have a quick recovery. And I just want to say thank you to all of our superheroes who are the students and the staff of Reedsport School District. And this was pretty impressive. I just,
Yeah.
I had some of my favorites I wanted to share. These were cool. So, I mean, look at the complexity and the artistry. These kids are great. So
There's some great artists in there.
show me your cowboy.
No, I couldn't lose it.
No.
I wouldn't lose it.
All right. But yes, thank you to everyone who helped to celebrate what we do, because we only do it for you.
And the rocks from the life skills class, if one of them is missing off the board, when you get it, do we get to keep this or do we have to give it back? Oh, good.
You get to pick your favorite because you're chair.
I know.
You could go build a shadow box for it and hang it up.
I'm thinking, that's kind of cool idea.
All right.
I was thinking the ladybug would look really good on my desk. Mr. Daly, anything?
Hey, good luck, Bonnie. Tomorrow, good luck. Your buddy's waiting for you to call whenever you need her. And yeah, the kids did a great job. A lot of work, a lot of artists, future artists we got coming in here, and yeah, so that's it.
Bob?
I'm good.
I'm gonna send.
Sorry, I just wanted to let everybody know that the art installation that is behind you there was created by our high school students in conjunction with our art teacher. Last year we had those flowers that the junior high made, and this is our new art installation for this year. And hopefully we'll have another one next year.
Super. And I also would like to do the same sentiment that I'm really impressed with, and thank all the kids and staff members that helped recognize us. And also, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I just get all, believe it or not, this old rough cowboy can just kind of get chilly when all them kids get the accolades and hear the teachers talk about, you know, and share and rejoice about how they are. I mean, it just makes me keep wanting to do this. So, I mean, thank you guys for doing that and making sure that, you know, those kids get recognized, and I'll put our kids up against any kids, and when I go to these conferences anytime. And I have a niece that's a principal in Klamath School District, and boy, family get-togethers can get pretty gruesome sometimes when we get talking about our kids. So anyways, thank you very much. So future agenda is January 24th through the 26th is the OASC Winter Conference. Our superintendent will be attending. And February 14th, regional session board meeting at 5:30. Yeah, and with that, we're adjourned. Thank you, building administrators, for hanging out. We appreciate you.